to Idle Red Hands Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And it's the end of the 20-teens. So
it is.
We can stop with all this awkward aughts and teens and just say, yeah, now we're in the 20s and 30s. And
okay. I see where you're going.
Yeah, years are going to be easier to account for now. So we had to wait 20 years, but we're finally here.
I kind of like saying the 2000s.
Yeah, I was having trouble with aughts. I wasn't a fan. It sounds a little dated. But for this end of the year, because this is probably the last time we'll talk before 2020, I thought we would do our favorite things or kind of the best of 2019, what we liked the best and what we didn't like things that
the best of things we hated.
Yeah, right. The best, yeah. So yeah, just kind of what really stands out and what we remember from 2019. This will be a list of the 2019. No, let's not do that. There's so many lists. People counting everything down.
So this will not be a list,
right? We do not have 2019 things to talk about.
Oh my God!
I'll probably be back again doing this with maybe Lyal or whoever I can wrangle in.
Someone, not me.
Yeah, right. And anybody that's not traveling.
Yeah, because New Year's is a bigger holiday than Christmas here in Japan.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I'm working Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Have been for a long time. But once you get past like the 25th, like the 28th, around like a lot of stuff shuts down and then not until sometime like the first week in January.
A little bit different because it's the New Year's is the big family holiday.
Yeah. Kind of swapped from what it is in the States.
Right.
When I say everything shuts down, I mean everything shuts down, including ATMs. So if you make that mistake when you first show up and you're like, I'll get some money. Oh, no. All right. I'm getting through this New Year's broke. Yeah, that's uncomfortable. So
but that's where those little envelopes come in that your relatives
pass
out.
when you have family, yes. When you don't have family and you're just sitting there by yourself going, all right, how many cups of ramen noodles can I get out of this holiday? Yeah. Because ATM machines also need a break.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Of course.
They've got family they have to visit too. Yeah.
What do you remember, or what was something that you really liked in 2019?
Ask me what I remember is dangerous because my memory is pretty bad. Things that stand out. Well, I mean, I've been talking about it a lot recently. Maybe the standout thing for me was the Alien RPG, where I had a lot of fun doing the 4-shot. We recorded.
Yep. Yes.
Even though I wasn't here for the last part. But I went into that game saying, I'm not expecting much from this system or the structure of the game, and was very pleasantly surprised and impressed with how much I liked cinematic mode, at least. And the strength of that game that you ran is what got me to do the pre-order and get the book. And like I said last time, I'm still a little iffy on campaign mode, but I think cinematic mode is still really strong, and I really like that system. So I think that for me was the standout of 2019 because we did the live stream of the game back in like August,
right?
Didn't we?
Yeah,
so,
because the pre-orders opened up in August. The game just went retail, this month in December. So so we had that starting adventure with the preliminary rules, the PDF to play, and and that ended up being a good time.
From what I could see, and I mean I haven't gone through it with a fine-tooth comb and compared the two PDFs. I don't think a lot changed from the initial rules to the full book. It's just things got not even expanded really. I think most of the mechanics and the stuff that was in the quick start, for lack of a better term, got carried over to the final one. So I think all they did was cut extraneous stuff out and said, here, you can play with this, but there's going to be, I guess, more weapons tables or more GM section stuff in the final product.
Yeah, and they would have to come up with because there were no xenomorphs. And so there was like things that and things that weren't xenomorphs, things that were just like aliens.
A couple alien species. Yeah,
the colonists would encounter,
which is kind of difficult to say. I mean, there's alien species, but no, not that alien. Like, okay, and they're not extraterrestrials rather than xenomorphs. I don't know.
Yeah, they're just indigenous species.
Yeah.
You have to deal with. Yeah, that would definitely be one for me too. I was really surprised. I supported it because I loved that because so many people have been doing Aliens without the license.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I was really happy to see, okay, this isn't officially licensed, and I like that Free League was doing it. And the fact that they didn't take it to Kickstarter was like, I'm definitely going to support this because I know they do quality products. It's the Year Zero system. So let's get behind this. And it was nice they gave you that adventure right away to get a taste. And we had a really nice extended session doing that.
If by nice you mean argumentative, then yes.
But it was a good experience. It was fun for me too because that was the first time like I kind of really leaned into it and kind of like, okay, let's do props and sounds and see how far we can immerse this because it's a setting that you know the flavor, you know kind of what you want it to feel like. That was a good one. And so now we're just going to have to see what campaign mode looks like eventually.
I put something up in the Free League forums, and maybe I mentioned this before, just saying, again, not unhappy with what we got, but we're lacking an example. So what have people been doing? Like, we have all these pieces and all these tools and all these bits, and I could put them together. I want to see how we're kind of intended to put them together, where the designers kind of expect us to put them together with an example. And maybe I didn't mention before, I even picked up the Coriolis quick start just to kind of see, okay, what's the adventure at the back of this quick start look like? And the rules are going to be similar but not identical, and maybe the structure won't be identical, but I just kind of want to see what is a Free League style adventure. So.
Right. Yeah, that's something we should play too. I like that game, and I like the push mechanic is a prayer. So I think that works really well. The tone, because it's basically, Arabian Nights in space.
That's about as far as I got with the setting, and just kind of the beginning part where it goes, hey, Arabian Nights in space, and I'm like, wow, okay, that's interesting. And trying to do a non-European style space fantasy thing.
Right, and non-Christian.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be something definitely. I've got the core book for that. I think that would be worth doing. Yeah, that nice thing, just a little tip out there for anybody that supported any Free League Kickstarters. They include core books and a lot of products of all of their previous systems as add-ons to in the Pledge Manager. So anything you want to catch up on, or anything you've been wanting to try and you want the core book from, you can add it to your pledge, and it's free shipping basically.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
nice.
so it's a really low, it's like 300 crowns, which is like $30. You get a really good price, and you get basically included in the box that they send you. So yeah, if you're looking at that and enjoying any Free League games, they are consistently doing that. They're including in their Kickstarters.
We were talking before about a couple Kickstarters for 5e games, either kind of like new settings especially. And you brought up the fact that using 5e as a, kind of as a baseline is a way to highlight the differences that this particular setting brings into the game. And I just thought you could probably say the same thing about the Year Zero system. Again, obviously not as popular as D&D, because what is, but just now thought like, okay, all these things are built on the Year Zero engine. Alien and Coriolis now, and a little bit of Forbidden Lands are the only systems that I've looked at. But while they are similar, there are differences that kind of highlight what they're doing with each particular game. And I just think that's an alternative to D&D, possibly. I mean, not that anyone would have to do it, but I think it kind of reinforces your point about using kind of the same system with tweaks to highlight what is different for the genres that the different games are doing.
Yeah. When you think about it, Tales from the Loop all the way to Alien, that's a huge use it, that system that shows a lot of flexibility. I mean, a deathless game, basically where you're playing Goonies, and then a very deadly game where you've got stress that's making you just scream in terror. So I think that they've done a lot with that system.
Again, made me think I kind of want to play a game with Colonial Marines now, because something we haven't seen in any of the Alien games we played is firing weapons on full auto gives you stress.
Yes, that's right.
So far, all we've seen is like single shot bolt guns. I kind of want to see the Colonial Marines lose it, and then unfortunately maybe mow down a bunch of their comrades with that automatic stress.
Yeah, I think we should do like a Space Hulk type setting, just with Alien, just like put them down somewhere and say, yeah, you got to clear this out. We don't know what this is, and deal with it.
Well, I know what I'm writing over New Year's break. Yep. Definitely going to be using the rules for explosive decompression, opening up the hull. Yeah.
Oh man.
So another stand-up one for 2019 for you.
Oh, yeah. So this might not be a big favorite of yours, but speaking of 5e, a big surprise for me was the 5e Essentials kit.
Okay.
So it was kind of odd. It's like they have a starter set. They made a starter set. It has the pre-gens, and it has like a real, limited rules. I mean, you can get the PDF online, which is basically the core rules, but it had real limited booklet in that original starter set. Looking at the Essentials, it's just a really well-made product. And I think a lot of thought went into it as far as we have to use this. This will get people into the hobby. It gives you enough dice, it gives you a DM screen. It gives you cards for items and characters and things. And it even, it includes the sidekick rules.
Okay. Yep.
So it's like if you're just going to play a 2-player game, a dungeon master and a player, you can have, you'll have more players that aren't going to be run by the DM. The way the rules are presented, it's in a perfect order where you get them when you need them.
Right.
And the first adventure, it's a great starting point. And that setting, they give you kind of a hub, a town that's a hub for quests and for adventures on the Sword Coast in that setting. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking before about how you said that the rules are kind of presented as you need them, like in the booklet. So you said that it was really good for like a first-time GM that can kind of like read through, and they kind of estimated when in the adventure the players would attempt to do some, or the player characters would attempt to do something that needed an extra rule and then would feed it to you or the DM at that point.
Yeah, so and it worked really well, I think, for first-time DMs too. And actually, I'm sorry, I'm getting this a little bit confused because in the Essentials kit, Lost Mines of Phandelver is actually in the starter set.
Okay.
So you would have to have both. That is an excellent starting adventure, and it's the Essentials booklet that does a really good job with the rules.
Right.
The Phandelver, the booklet for the Lost Mine has it's a nice adventure, and it's very interesting and a good, level 1 adventure to start with. Talking about the Essentials kit rules with playing that adventure, because they have a ice spire. There's an adventure with a dragon and an ice mountain. Oh,
right, because the Essentials kit has the white dragon on the cover.
Yes, right. Okay. So sorry, I didn't mean to be confusing about that, but the rule set and being able to roll characters and making it very clear how to roll your own characters in the Essentials kit is great. I mean, I think that making your own character instead of playing pre-gens connects you to the game a little bit more, and you kind of like, this is what I want to do in this game, so this is the kind of character I'm making. And so when I ran that for my daughter and her boyfriend, that was a great experience because they were complete first timers, and it was really interesting to see like how things clicked. And it's funny because we were just reviewing the Secrets of Blackmoor documentary and talking about that. Can you imagine a time where you can't say, it's like D&D? Like, you have to explain what a role-playing game is, and you don't have the phrase "it's like D&D," and you just have to, because that's a pretty much understood. People have seen, like in E.T. or Stranger Things, they've seen
Big Bang Theory, if you want to go super nerd,
right? And so they've seen an example of that. So, D&D, okay, I know what you're doing, but
do they though? Okay, I know what's been presented to me about what it is you're doing.
Something with Cheetos and Mountain Dew or Doritos. I don't know.
Silly voices,
right. And hats. I think there's hats.
Yeah, I've gotten, do you have to wear a cape? Yeah. Or I even gotten do you wear a cape? And I'm like, no.
If you have the starter set and the Essentials kit are an amazing combination for starting out in Dungeons and Dragons. And because that is intimidating, I think we talked about that several times, a core book or, the player's guide, a dungeon master's guide, here, read this.
Yep.
It's just, that is the last thing that's going to make anybody want to show up to a game session.
Yeah, Lyal can back me up on this. Back in the day, several years ago, when we were starting our 4E campaign, which I grew to hate that system. There was a player we were kind of trying to recruit who regularly played board games with us, and like in-depth board games like Twilight Imperium 3, and would just sit down and say, okay, let's go. And we made the mistake of inviting him to a session and just tossing him the 4E PHB and saying, build a character. Assuming that as he was so gung-ho about just jumping into these super in-depth board games, he would do the same thing. Right. And he took one look at the book and said, kind of flipped through, looked at pictures and said, yeah, no thanks, and handed it back. And that really taught us, okay, that is not an approach to recruiting new players.
Right.
Like completely brand new ones. You got to say, walk them through it. And it sounds like the Essentials kit is a pretty decent way to do that.
Yeah.
What about the adventure in the Essentials kit? Because I understand that putting that and the starter kit with the Lost Mines of Phandelver adventure together, you've said is like bare essentials, for the Essentials kit. If someone were just to get that, how would it be?
I think I've heard it's okay. I didn't do much because I really wanted to run the Lost Mines, so I didn't look much into that adventure. But if they structured it the same way, which I think they did, putting boxes, DM boxes and things throughout, just be like, make sure you're doing this, and this is an opportunity to do this, and make sure they're rolling for this. I think that if they presented it the same way, I think it would be good. And maybe if they have that kind of expectation, there's a dragon at the end of this.
Right? I'm glad you brought that up, because that's exactly what I was going to bring up. Where it's like, someone coming into the hobby, it's called Dungeons and Dragons. Here's your dungeon. Where's the dragon? Especially if there's a dragon on the front cover of the box.
Right. Which there usually is.
There usually is.
Yeah, but I think for level 1 adventures, it's like you're gonna fight a dragon.
Again, I've not looked at the rules for 5e that extensively. I thought for 4E or maybe for 5E there was a way to scale monsters down. And I think this is the strength of some other games, especially like Dungeon World, where not that the numbers don't matter, but the numbers can represent different things in the fiction. How based on how you want to scale the game. Like if you want to do Warhammer style, we're rat catchers scraping by on the skin of our teeth, you can do that without changing any numbers, just the way you could do, okay, we're playing like Exalted here, where this roll is going to represent me like flipping over this entire army, and then just the numbers will handle that as well. But that whole tangent was, it kind of seems not disingenuous, but possibly a little disappointing for beginning players to not have the experience of, I guess, going up against a dragon.
Yeah.
And with D&D, you would probably have to change the numbers, or you'd have to give them a really high-level character, which is not good for a beginning player.
Right.
But, yeah.
Yeah, so I imagine, especially because it's starting adventure, that they have it scaled so that it feels good and interesting, and you have a chance.
Or a high-power NPC like Elminster shows up, whatever, and deals with the dragon.
Yeah, it just kind of bails you.
Only Forgotten Realms character I know. So.
I'll take a look at that because now that you've got me thinking about that, I'm really curious how they do handle that. Because for a first adventure, you don't want to. You guys are dead. Yeah, you didn't.
Yeah.
You have no resistance to ice. Well, I guess
but you also kind of don't want to do another room of rats. You know.
Yeah, right. Get them.
Yeah. I thought we were heroic adventurers. No, you are rat cleaners. Yeah. It's not even a word. Rat catchers. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I like rat cleaners.
Rat cleaners. You are cleaning up the dungeon of rats. Yeah. Something else I'm going to try and read over break is a PBTA game that's powered by the Apocalypse called Beneath a Cursed Moon. And I cannot believe this game is pay what you want.
Oh.
So, I mean, there's a whole discussion about, kind of indie and small press designers pricing stuff way too low. This game is worth a lot more than like pay what you want. Basically, it's a gothic fantasy game that you play monster hunters. So kind of like Monster of the Week, kind of like Supernatural, but it's inspired by things like Castlevania and Bloodborne.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I've been reading that. It does a really good job at the beginning of kind of saying, here's my inspiration, or here's the author's inspirations. Here's kind of what I was trying to do with it. And it also kind of, not impressed me, but something I liked was history is kind of messy and has all kinds of bigotries, and we're just not going to deal with that. So I think the phrase was something like, that's not fun, and we're here at the table to have fun. So we're kind of playing fast and loose with history and are just going to ignore that kind of stuff.
That's a good approach, and putting it in like an alternate world, alternate dimension, or some kind you can just you're like Caserta, like you're all undead. So what color are you? Well, you're gray, pretty much.
I can see people going, oh, you're a skeleton, right? Oh, yeah, well, I'm a ghoul. Okay, well, getting into it like that, which
But nice. And I've noticed that recently a lot of inspiration, I guess, because people that are now getting into role playing, their first love was video games. So there's a lot of people that are saying they're inspired by Bloodborne or Dark Souls, or there's a lot of inspiration from games, and maybe because the world is interesting and visually so attractive, they're like, I want to play something else in this and not just whack.
Oh yeah. I guess that we don't have to discuss it now, but that leads to the question of, like, can you do visuals in a role-playing game? And I think I've brought that up before, where I think it would be pretty difficult, but it relies entirely on, not entirely, but mostly on the GM to verbally convey that those visuals or that aesthetic, which I think is kind of hard. But I am not up on video games. I do think there's a lot of cross-pollination between tabletop role-playing games and video games. And it wasn't started by 4E, but 4E definitely tried to kind of go the alternate route and say, oh, great, you all like WoW. Here's the paper version. And obviously didn't work because 4E didn't stick around for that long. But I mean, as someone who's kind of not really that interested in video games, I went, oh, this is paper version of WoW.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of really shortchanging D&D, basically saying, just when you hold down that one key or you wait for your ability to refresh and then you hit him again. Now you can do that on the tabletop.
To be fair, I do have anecdotal evidence of people who came from WoW to D&D, looked at that 4E character and sheet and the roles and stuff and said, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
It obviously didn't. My impression is that it didn't work on a large scale. Otherwise, 4E would have probably stuck around a lot longer. It did have some effect. So maybe it did do what Wizards intended to do, just not on a big enough scale.
Yeah, and I think not allowing the theater of the mind, the improvisation and role play is just like, I got to get my DPS up. I got to like really wail on these guys.
Well, some people want to play that way. I don't, obviously, but yeah.
I would definitely have to say that for 2019, another thing that stuck out for me was and it kind of snuck by. We did a session, we did an introductory session, but we need to do some more John Carter of Mars.
Yes, that was another good one, yeah.
Yeah, so I think Modiphius did a really good job. A little odd on the format of the book. And I think that's why...
The landscape thing.
Yeah, that's why I haven't, because I can't open it in public. So it's like one of those.
So, in other words, they went with the original topless version of the Red Martians, is what you're saying, right?
Right. It's just like I expect to look down at my feet and see children like sitting.
So
because it looks like it's like a storybook, and I can understand why they did that. So they had the vistas.
Yeah.
It's nice for the art, but it's not practical. It's not so practical for
pages were also really thin, kind of like magazine.
Yeah, the paper. The paper was very thin, but that setting is great. And then going back to those novels for getting ready for that campaign was fun, and we just didn't get past that original kind of starting adventure. But I really think we should do that because it's got a lot going on, I think, and there's even listeners waiting for us.
Oh, really?
Do some more John
Carter.
Now
we have to do it.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's something we need to do, and that's the 2D20 system. So that's Modiphius's 2D20.
Yeah, I think Alien kind of beats that out for me, but I was also surprised and impressed with that system because I mentioned before, after looking at Modiphius's 2D20 Conan, which I still do want to dig into a little bit more, I was expecting kind of the more traditional array of stats, like like strength, dexterity, intelligence, whatever, and no, it was like valor, courage, I forget the other ones in order. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is a bit more narrative than I was expecting. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with the John Carter of Mars game as well.
Yeah, I think they did a nice job with, so how is your character going to do this, and kind of trying to lean on your highest stat, but I don't think you can use Valor to open that box, so it's...
I've had discussions with people about those kind of games because kind of Fate Accelerated falls in that category as well. Like, why would you not just use your highest stat? And the only kind of response I had for that is play with people who understand that's kind of not the point.
Right, you're not trying to win,
Right, and I don't really think it's mechanically a jobs game to prevent bad actors from playing it. Just like you're kind of frequently saying, people are generally good and you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think writing a game, you kind of have to approach it the same way. Like, okay, we're going to assume people are going to play this with the spirit rather than the letter of the rules. That's not always going to be the case, but you can't write it, or I would think you can't write it the other way, because then you're just going to have a textbook-sized manual of rules. Which some games are, but that's not fun for me, at least.
And someone's always going to figure out a way to make it miserable. Like if they want to rules lawyer and do, if that's what they're obsessed with, then that's basically their enjoyment of game systems is finding its weakness. Well, if I just sit here and don't do this, then I win. Nobody can touch me. It's like, but
yeah, you can. How about you go play that game over there by yourself? Yeah. Speaking of solo games,
right.
Sometimes it's good because I had a roommate, or rather an apartment mate, who kind of played board games that way before I got into RPGs. And when I was trying to write board games, the upside was I could hand him rules or play rules with game, and he would go, well, I'm going to do this. I'm like, oh, right, okay. By the way I wrote those rules, you are absolutely right. You can absolutely do that. That's not what I intended. Thank you for pointing that out.
Right.
So he was a good playtest partner because he would show me how things could be exploited.
Right, so hiring a white hat hacker, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. Yeah,
attack your network.
Paper white hat hacker.
A cautionary piece of news and a kind of a sad piece of news that that happened just recently, but in 2019, was Cubicle 7, the publisher of now all the Warhammer Fantasy and Age of Sigmar, and also now they took over from Ulysses Spiel, the
Dark
40K.
Stuff?
Yeah, 40K. They're publishing 40K. So they have all the old Fantasy Flight Warhammer material with their imprint. So that D100 system.
Yep.
But then their new systems that they're working on in new settings, and then their version of 4E. 4E Warhammer Fantasy, but they just lost their license, and so they're very license heavy company, and so they just lost the license for the One Ring series that they were doing. That's the danger, and I think that's why I've always been hesitant. I want to play in kind of famous IP, big worlds, but the danger is it's limited to whatever is on that paper, that contract that they made, the license, the terms, what they can do, what they can't, and how long it's going to last. When it comes up for renewal, what's the market going to look like? What's the company going to, what state is the company going to be in? And have to deal with those sorts of things. So I'm not sure how complete of a setting and system the One Ring is. So they're ceasing publication of it. So they're not producing any new. You can still buy the books, not producing any new. So what's happening kind of one last time is the Bundle of Holding is doing I think it's their third bundle of the One Ring books.
Okay.
And it's going to include everything,
everything. That's nice.
plus 30% off of the physical books
at
their store, because they want to move those. The nice thing about it is if you've supported this in the past, your collection is automatically going to be updated with the PDFs for everything.
Wow, nice.
But it's sad. I mean, it's a sad thing, and I don't know how much support there was behind that system and how much people liked it, but it's not good when you see things going like that. And especially a company that's relying heavily on IPs. I think they don't have any original properties now. It's all IP based at Cubicle 7, which, that has built-in popularity.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to guarantee a certain amount of sales just for the name. But then these sorts of things happen. It's like, now you don't publish Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, you did. Not anymore. Yeah. No, I saw someone bring that up, and they pointed out, okay, we don't know how far in advance like schedules are, but there's got to be writers or layout people or other kind of creators who maybe got paid, hopefully got paid, but are now going to like just never see their work in print, which kind of stinks.
Yeah, that really does. And I guess, because it's work for hire, so you did it, or, maybe it's contract work. So everything you did is kind of just now going to be frozen in time, never published, and it doesn't transfer over with the license.
It's kind of not yours. Yeah.
Right. It's based on what happens next, like who has that contract next, because that was a very surprising thing for me that all the Fantasy Flight material went to Cubicle 7 when they got the Warhammer license. I guess it's possible if that sort of unfinished material or things yet to be published is included with that, we don't know what that situation is. And also the company would be smart to look into who was writing for this system and say, hey, that system you were getting, well, we've got that now, and you want to keep doing it?
Yeah.
Because, you definitely know writers and things have gotten notes and at least sourced as to what they still have all their materials. But so that was not a good thing to hear, and just makes me, that's always why IPs are, I'd rather have something original done by a creator designer that it's their thing. They're always going to publish it, and they're only going to give up on it when they, like, in their heart,
get burned out.
Up on it. Yeah. Just like, I can't do this anymore.
I'm done.
A question that we're going to have to contend with next year is, will the Idle Red Hands Weekly ever be a video podcast?
Oh, Will Weekly.
Yes, Will Weekly. Is that Will Weekly?
Yeah. I was trying to figure out who that was. Like, okay.
Will Weekly, the designer of So will this podcast ever have a video component? Because it shows up on YouTube, like we posted on YouTube with our thumbnail, and people are asking, why can't I see you? Why can't I see this? And I think the big reason, like the thing that makes the most sense, is this is happening at lunchtime.
Yeah.
And if you can see the state in which we're doing the crumbs on our faces.
I very much prefer the illusion that is presented rather than the actual reality that would be presented. Yeah.
Right. And and it would take a lot of video editing to get all the burps and the
Speak for yourself. Yeah.
Getting everything out. Yes. But so that's something that we'll deal with. We'll see how this evolves in the next year. But
it could be a once a month monthly.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I didn't mean the podcast. I mean like the video cast.
Yeah. No. I think that would be a good and things that kind of need visuals. Right. I think that would make a lot of sense, because when we're just talking about PDFs and things and just systems and news, I don't think it's as necessary. But when when we were talking about the controversy of the photo bashing.
Oh yeah.
That would be nice to be able to show what we were. Yeah. The eco-terrorist.
Yes.
But so things like that. So if there's a necessary visual component, I think that'll be something. Yeah. So monthly. Yeah. So we'll have
possible,
weekly, monthly, and then I guess we're gonna have to do a daily eventually.
Oh jeez.
Those will be about 10 seconds long.
Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Idle Red Hands Daily. Thanks for popping in. Bye. Yeah.
It's Tuesday. All right. Probably we will talk a little bit more about 2019 with other Idle Red Hands members and see what they kind of are taking with them into the 20s, into the 2020s.
Next decade, yeah.
Yeah. So it's strange. And we've got the Tokyo Olympics to look forward to. So all the construction will finally come to an end, hopefully, on the
new stadium.
Yeah, right. At least the eastern side of the country. And people have been in construction hell for like 5 years, I think. So that's it for this week, and that's it for this year with Chris.
Yeah. I'll be in Taipei and then Tottori Prefecture, though not near the dunes, for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and don't write your name in the dunes. Those damn tourists are wrecking those dunes.
Those dunes are fine. We'll just let sand will blow away. What you're not supposed to do is carve your name into the bamboo stuff in like around Kyoto and Nara. That's don't do it. Yeah.
Or the painted gates, the torii gates, the red.
Yeah. Who does that? Seriously, like, come on, people. You're giving like all us foreigners in Japan a bad name by pulling these kind of stunts. Okay, show up, behave yourself, and then go home, please.
Right. Well, Happy New Year, and
Happy New Year to you too.
We will be back in some form next year and next week with a little more of the best of 2019. Goodbye.
Bye.
sounds of a call.